All right, don't build a company for yourself. People tell you this all the time. Learn to see the world through the eyes of your customer. So when I started on putting these games together with my team, we looked into, hey, how can we serve people who are underserved, right? And so do I enjoy, hey, I'm a black guy, I play Black Card Revoked, but to be absolutely honest, that game is geared towards women for the most part. All of our products are, to a certain extent. So, identify your potential customer, right? Identify the market. Somebody mentioned, I think, market research. Identify the problems, spend time with those people, test your product. So we didn't spend a bunch of time on product design. I still don't have business cards. Like I said, we started on Big Cartel. We just focused on creating a product, right, differentiating that stuff, and then also selling an experience, right? So we got into games for a reason. So if you think about our model, it's similar to Print Syndicate, which is here in Columbus, but we have a much higher margin than they will, right? T-shirts, it's a commodity, right? And we test, right? Get in front of people, create stuff, really enable people to create their own sort of products and card games. So like I said, family stuff, a lot of adult sort of games. The crazy thing is that we were able to get some of these trademarks. It's just absolutely insane. We don't really believe in going out and trying to create new things, but to identify what's happening on social media and then take the language that people are using and then take that and then develop a product, right? So Girls Night Out, who would thought you'd be able to get a Girls Night Out trademark for a goddamn game in 2015? This is insane, right? Oh, charge up front. I don't know how many times, sometimes Rev1 or some other entity will say, hey, you come in and speak to some startup. I don't know how many times I speak to, some, new founder, and they don't want to charge for anything. Like, you're not learning any lessons if you're not charging up front. Don't come up with your own model. Do identify and learn from existing models. So these are some of my favorite companies. Is anybody familiar with Big Ass Fans? Anybody guess what Big Ass Fans sells? Exactly, they sell big ass fans, right? I think also too for male founders, you gotta, and if you're getting into consumer products, recognize who does that consumer spending, and that's why I love businesses like Curves or Ashley Stewart. One of my favorite stories is about Curves, the guy who started that had some other gym, and he noticed his wife at the time when she would get up. They would go out to dinner with friends, and when his wife would stand up, she'd turn to her girlfriend and say, hey, do you want to go to the restroom? And they'd get up and go together. And he said, okay, I'm not doing any the bro gyms anymore, and that's how the Curve started, right? It's because he recognized a pattern there, and it worked quite a bit for them. Let's see, building the biz. All right, don't make things harder than they are. Do streamlining your life. This is a new slide that I put in here. When people come to me about founding companies and whatnot, I always start with this now, right? It's cleaning up your personal finances. People talk about raising money and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of reasons why not to do this. Clean up your personal finances, right? So in order for us to start our business, I think we sunk initial $6,000 into it. And then it's like, oh, we got a little traction. Then November 24th, 2015 happened. We didn't have any of our sort of payment processing stuff set up correctly. And we ended up doing about $250,000 of pre-sales. And we couldn't necessarily get access to that. So we had to go into our pockets and then pull out, I think it was about $25,000 to get that initial run before we would get access to that money through Stripe. So align family and friends, right? So I've had the pleasure of being able to work with great folks, the folks who founded Cover My Meds, and this is something I learned from them, right? You know who in your circle of friends or family, who you can trust, right? You know which person not to give money to, which person can take on some responsibility. And people always, hey man, how do I put together a team and find a co-founder? Well, you go to a meetup and meet some dude or some lady that you never met before and then just trust them with stuff. So start in your own backyard. Like I said, fancy logo, expensive custom Shopify templates. We started on Big Cartel, right? We made our first $500,000 on Big Cartel, spending $6 a month. I mean? Now, at one point in time, I mean, obviously at some point in time we moved into utilizing Shopify, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do yourself. I don't know how many times a developer would come to me and say, man, I want to start my own LLC. I'm like, dude, just go to Ohio Secretary of State website, give them like $100, boom, there you go. You know, just kind of get started. Don't build it by yourself, right? So identify your teams and allies. You will need help. Identify your strengths and weaknesses. So when we got into TV stuff, like I said, my background is in sports and entertainment, kind of the agency world. I handle more back-end stuff, so tech stuff, manufacturing, those type of things. But I have a great partner who handles all of our business development and partnership stuff. She lives in New York. And that's kind of how we go through and identify. When I went and mentioned before in a slide previously, talking about family and friends, right? Hey, if you're not the most organized person, find the most organized person in your team, right? And put them on that particular thing. If you're an introvert, find the extrovert, you know, within your circle, your social circle. Learn level 5 leadership is something I pulled from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. You know, it's about servant leadership, you know, reduce your ego. Don't be greedy. Now, this is not getting into equity. This is about paying people. But 100% of 0 is 0. There we go. So think about also what happens if create financial incentives for people. So, you know, the folks who go out and help us land really great deals. The end of this year, we're going to be in a little over 1,000 brick and mortar stores. For a particular retailer I won't mention because the deal's not done, but it's looking like it's going to happen. So do retain your equity and control. This is something I also got from the Cover My Meds people. So their reason for that is at the point in time in which you decide you want to bring on some money, you don't want to give up board seats. You don't want to give up a lot of stuff, right? So we have this mentality, especially on the coast, and I think it's come here somewhat, that we got to grow really, really fast, right? Grow slow. Give yourself opportunity to learn, especially if you haven't done this stuff before. There's going to be a lot of dumbass mistakes that you're going to make. Just being absolutely honest. I know because, shit, I've made most of them. Save your money, live cheaply. People used to laugh at me because, like, dude, you make really great money, but you're driving this old 2003 Toyota Camry. But that was the money that we sunk into our business initially. So give yourself time to learn, reinvest those profits. Think what happens if an investor joins your team. You're forced to move more quickly. So, yeah. Running the biz. Okay, so don't tell a story. Love double negatives. So use emotion storytelling to sell. What problem do you solve? Right? How does it connect emotionally? So for us, how we connect on our games is we tried all types of stuff at first, right? But the best thing that we ever sunk our money into was $500 for a video of this lady reading one of our card games and all of our friends breaking out in a song and dance. And that drives more conversions than anything over the last 2 years. Like I can, you know, take that off Facebook, run it again, and boom, there's money. But so we'll show that, and we'll also say something like, hey, make sure that you have a great party. Right? Come through and buy our game so we can help you have a great summer party. And so we're speaking to a particular user persona, a particular archetype. So identify and refine that story. Identify likely first adopters as well. You know, get your stuff in front of people. They'll let you know if they like it, if they hate it. And then use analytics, right? Don't neglect the baby. I love this GIF. Have you guys ever seen this one? Yeah. So protect the baby, man. Protect the baby. So make your first hire a great one. So we have a staff right now of about 7 people. We'll go up to 10 to 15 people during the holiday season. But most of our stuff currently right now is fulfilled through Amazon. It was a good way for us to kind of, I mean, you got to work with them, man. Yeah, treat your customers like mom. So when we took on that $250,000 of pre-sales, shit, I had to deliver because Christmas season was coming up. So we would call on our suppliers, on the phone with people every night. Customer service, number one. You know, if they didn't get the stuff, you know, treat them like you would treat mom. I mean, I don't know how you guys treat your mom, but I treat my mom pretty good. Pay your people, ship on time, always ship on time, pay your taxes, obtain necessary copyrights and trademarks. We have really great trademarks, which is why Viacom came to us and said, wow, you guys are really good at taking cultural content and then putting it in a card form. We find we need some sort of way to differentiate ourselves from, Amazon and Hulu and Netflix. Let's do some game shows, and that's what we're doing with them. This is a good one. Don't blindly rely on service pros. Try before you buy. Do try before you buy. Whew. So I'll give you an interesting story. So I had, I'll mention Rev1. So Rev1 introduced me to a accounting firm that's well known locally, who I will not name, and it wasn't necessarily their fault. And they said, hey, we want you guys should get a great bookkeeper, and they recommended a bookkeeper locally. Will not mention that company's name. They fucked us, to be absolutely honest. They were used to working with athletes. I had worked with athletes before. So what athletes do is they just pay some shit, right? The accountant says I owe them 10 grand, pay them 10 grand. And so they send little invoices with not a whole lot of stuff in it, said we do a bunch of work. And we're like, you guys didn't do that work. Their communication was really poor. So that's an example. But I've seen that happen again and again and again. So get multiple quotes, ask for itemized invoices, and give these, attorneys, these accountants, these agencies, these other folks, give them small projects to work on to prove themselves, because they will take your fucking money and they will take it 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 if they can. I've seen that happen in sports quite a bit. And also learn what you can do yourself as well. You should read your contracts front and back. Guess what? Contracts are written in English. Like, I got to give it to the attorney to read the contract for me. So don't do that. Do be informed. Handle your business accordingly. I try to read. I try to read a good amount. You just have to, right? It's just there's just shit that you just don't know. Set up Google Analytics early. One of the things that I fucked up on is that we didn't set up I don't know if it's still the same way, but enhanced eCommerce. So I went back and was like, I don't have any of my e-commerce data. Find out where your customers live so that you can target them, with your advertising. How do they find out about you? What are their interests? So we've utilized affinity categories and interest categories to develop other products. So we end up doing this really big product that's been huge for us with one of the leading gossip sites, and that worked out really well. But that was straight from just pulling out of Google saying, okay, what do we make next? You can obviously also talk to your customers, which you should do. Find a model to mastery via reading. To be absolutely honest, I was late to a lot of this stuff, and some of the leadership folks that cover my meds say, hey, have you read this? Have you read that? And I was like, oh, no, not yet. I'm going to get to it, And then I read the books, and I felt really stupid. Like, shit, that's what helped me. Don't lead with your intuition. They tell you, you got it, man. You know what to do. No, create a model for learning, right? Why guess when you can ask? So I'm really big about, establishing a network. There's all types of amazing people here who've had, different struggles, different sorts of failures, and they can help you with that. So ask for help when needed. Ask complete strangers to a certain extent, I think there's a right way to do that, but I'm really big on that. When we had made, for me, which was a good amount of money initially, hey, I'm knocking on doors to CFOs. I remember I went to Ted Frank, who used to be the CFO, cover my meds, and I was like, man, I've never seen this amount of money. My family's never seen this amount of money. What do you think I should do with it? And I was just hoping for 15 minutes of the guy's time, turned into an hour, and he just really sort of educated us on all types of stuff. So aggregate that advice. Obviously, not all advice will necessarily be good. I don't know what movie was said. The worst advice is advice. I don't know. But go and get it, and you'll at least be able to pull some of that stuff together and make your own decision. Try to make the most informed decision that you can, and then treat people right. All right, I think this is the second to last slide. All right, so don't look back with regret. Just do something. I see this happen for a lot of people who can kind of get in, like, hey man, I need to. They have identified what they need to do, but they're not doing it. Don't overthink it, right? So some of us do that. We need to get all of the data, right? Get started with 70%, right? Hold yourself accountable. Write your own obituary. I didn't want to just grab some random person's obituary off the internet, so I was like, oh, Walter White, that works. So this is kind of, I mean, this is a fucking crazy question, right? I'm gonna be absolutely honest. But it works for me, and you gotta find out how to motivate yourself. So ask yourself, how should I live in order to die without regret? For me, I look at it from the perspective of my grandfather, who passed away when he was about 94 or so, and I think about all the stuff that he didn't get to do in his life. And I'm like, hey, I gotta go hard, man, or I gotta go home. And I think about my obituary. What do I want it to say about the work that I did for the community, about the work that I did for just underrepresented populations here in the US, that sort of stuff. So, you know, I heard that one of the founders of Stripe has a death countdown clock that runs on his computer, right? And that's to propel him, right? He's thinking, shit, I only got so much time in the day. How am I gonna spend this? Family, friends, working hard, that sort of thing. So it may not work for you, but it works for me. All right, so I'll leave you all with this quote from John Wooden, I don't know if he's the maybe second most winningest coach. Coach K might be. John Wooden, famous coach from UCLA. Focus on running the race rather than winning it. Do those things necessary to bring forth your personal best. So I think if you at least start with that, I mean, what else can you really sort of ask for? So shoot for that, and you'd be surprised where you end up. That's it.